Hi, I'm Kaylee, a librarian here at Mentor Public Library.
And I'm Meg, also a librarian, and welcome to this week's edition of All Booked Up with Kaylee and Meg, where each week we give you different book recommendations related to a specific theme. So this week's theme, we're going to be looking at teen sibling relationships. So these are young adult books that deal with the good, bad, and the ugly of dealing with your siblings.
Well said.
Yeah.
And all of the books that we're going to talk about today are available through the library, whether you come in person through the drive-through or online through Libby by Overdrive or Hoopla.
So Kaylee, what's your first sibling relationship book?
Okay, so I'm gonna go super classic for my first one,
Okay.
and that's because I kept thinking of these books with great sibling relationships that I have already talked about this year.
Oh yeah.
And so I was having a hard time coming up with some good ones, but then this one just kind of comes to me this time of year specifically, especially because it has an array of sister relationships. And
Okay.
I am talking about Little Women by Louisa May Alcott.
Wonderful. Love it.
So those who know me know that I do indeed love this story. And it's very much a teen book written before such things were really common. There wasn't really a teen category back when this book was written, but
Right.
the book really does fit the teen category, especially because of the timeline in the story, which starts off when the women are teenagers and moves into adulthood.
Cool.
The book centers around four sisters: Meg, Beth, Jo, and Amy. And the first part of the book is really like their childhood, like teen years. And it's when the girls are just kind of together all the time. And so you see all of that sister stuff, like the playing and the bickering and the creating things together and learning things and just kind of growing up. All the things that siblings do. And it's during this portion where you learn about all of the different ways that the girls relate to one another. And I think if you
Yeah.
come from a big family, that's very relatable,
Yeah.
even though this book is 150 years old,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you see that there's sort of alliances formed between some sisters, and there's a couple sisters who really don't get along very well, like Jo and Amy just don't see eye to eye most of the time. And Meg kind of takes on that role of like peacekeeper in the family. Jo's super creative, and Beth is kind of like the quiet one who just kind of is in the background all the time. And so I
Right.
think that it's very relatable, like no matter the age, because of the fact that it's all of these sisters and how they kind of are with one another all the time.
Yeah.
And then the second half of the book like really shows the way that these relationships grow and adapt as the girls mature. And this is the part of the book that like most people sleep on. Like let's be honest, when most people think of Little Women, they really do think of book 1, which is like the first part. But the
Yeah.
second half really shows the way that like your sibling relationships evolve. You relate to one another a little differently. You're not under the same roof anymore, so that really changes things.
Yeah.
You rely on each other in different ways than when you're children or teenagers or whatever in the same house. And there's still disagreements and there's still tension at times, but also there's that sort of like fierce relationship of a
Yeah.
sister bond. And so like when I think of like sibling relationships, I think this book is a great one for that, even if it was written 150 years ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I think too there's that also that like amazing sequence at the very beginning of the book that's all Christmassy, and so this time of year it's just like so comforting.
Yeah, it's perfect for a number of reasons. Like you said, it really is the classic sibling book for me. Maybe Pride and Prejudice makes me think of it too, but I love this one because each sister, like you said, has their own kind of identity, and I think that's fun to look at. Like, are you a Meg? Are you a Beth, or whatever? So
Yes,
that's really fun about it too. Yeah, that's a great choice and timeless. You can never go wrong with that one.
there you
So
go.
yeah. So my first sibling book actually came out this year. It's called Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. And I really have enjoyed Elizabeth Acevedo. I think, only come out with 3 books, and the first one was a couple years ago, The Poet X. So she's really just starting to come into her own as a writer, and this one's really cool because it's written in verse. So yeah, so any poetry fans or just wanting to read something in a new format, this is a really interesting one for that reason. But it's also interesting because it almost has a little bit of mystery to it. So it's about 2 sisters who don't even know that the other exists. So they think they're just these only child, kids. They live in different countries. So our first sister, her name is Camino, and she lives in the Dominican Republic. And her life is, kind of difficult. But her one hope that she has is each summer her father comes to visit her from America. And that's like what she looks forward to every year. And then one year when she goes to the airport to pick up her dad, she finds everyone in the airport crying. And she's like, what's going on? Well, meanwhile, in New York City, her sister she doesn't know about yet, Yahara, she is called to the principal's office where she learns that her father died in a plane crash. And that is what happened to Camille's dad. And it rocks both of their worlds. And not only do they find out secrets about their dad, but they also realize that the other exists. And it's crazy. And they all go to the Dominican Republic, and they try to find these lost connections. And why were we never told about this? Why were we never told that I had a sister? So I really like it for that reason, because it's, 2 sisters finding out something about their family that maybe is not the best thing. And how do you process that as a family when something, maybe someone that you loved was having some secrets, maybe wasn't perfect, had some character issues. So I find that interesting for that reason. And then also it just actually is a very optimistic book about the bond, even how strong blood is. Even if you didn't know each other your whole life, that sister bond can still be formed even at a later date. So very interesting and unique for a variety of reasons. So
That sounds really good. I think that's one of those things that it almost sounds like one of those TV specials.
it really reminded me of that. So yeah, definitely fast
But it
read
sounds really good. And it's a newer one this year.
this year. Yep.
The other book that I have is called Conceal, Don't Feel by Jen Calonita. And this is part of the Twisted Tales series, which is where each book in the series tackles a different Disney story and puts a different spin on it.
Wow,
So
cool.
can you guess what this one's based on?
Conceal, don't feel. Oh yeah. Anna and Elsa, right?
Yes, this is a take on Frozen, twisted take on Frozen. So I will just assume that everyone watching this video has seen Frozen at least once or about 1,000 times if you, like me, have spent a lot of time with children over the last 7 years.
Yes.
If you have not seen Frozen, I am about to give loads of spoilers, so sorry.
You're warned.
So early in the story of this book, we'll go specifically to this, Elsa's power gets her and Anna in trouble. Completely accidentally, Elsa hurts her sister, and her parents decide to have Anna's memories wiped clean in order to keep her safe. So Anna doesn't remember that Elsa has powers, but she does remember all the things that, like her relationship with Elsa at that point. In this book, it twists it because at the time that they are taking Anna to have her memory wiped, Elsa's is wiped as well. And not just of the powers, but basically of each other. And Anna is actually given to a family in a nearby village to adopt and raise as their own in order to keep Elsa, who is the future queen, safe and Anna safe. So that takes it like this new step. And so the girls actually grow up apart from one another, except they each kind of grow up feeling like there's something or someone that is just kind of missing from their life. So years pass, and the 2 girls have grown up separately. And then Elsa's parents passed away unexpectedly. And suddenly her powers have reemerged because remember, Elsa doesn't know she has powers, but a huge, like, traumatic event triggers them to come back. And she is terrified of this new power and also heartbroken because her parents have left. But with the reemergence of her power, she also starts to have some memories. And there was this other little girl in the house. And she starts to remember Anna, but she doesn't really know who she is or why she has these memories and why they don't really match up with everything she knows. And Anna, on the other hand, she's been raised separately. She is preparing for her career as a baker, but she has this strange fascination with the young Queen Elsa. And after Elsa has a disastrous coronation, quite similar to the movie, Anna seeks out Elsa while at the same time Elsa is trying to find Anna. And this book is definitely a book for people who like the movie Frozen. But what I really like about Frozen, the movie, is that sister bond, that it's there and it's strong. And in this case, despite their estrangement through like all of their like formative years, they still have this like drive to get to one another. And they don't even really know why necessarily. And so that sort of like coming together is all the sweeter because of that. And there is a certain snowman who features in the book too.
Oh, that's great. That is so cute. And you highlighted, yeah, like I said, one of the best things about Frozen is so many Disney movies, it's about the prince and the princess, or, I like it that they highlight, sibling relationship, the sister love. So that is great. And get more Frozen. I love it. So my last one is called Ultimatum by Km Walton. This one came out a couple years ago, and it's about two brothers, one named Oscar and one named Vance. And Oscar and Vance are probably as different as two brothers can be. So the younger one is Oscar, and Oscar is a shy, introverted, kind of artsy, into music, whereas his brother Vance is into sports, partying. He specifically is on the lacrosse team, and they really have a hard time understanding each other. Oscar thinks Vance is uncaring and just kind of like, why don't you just party with me and things like that, whereas Vance just doesn't understand, why is Oscar moping around all the time? So that's kind of the disconnect between them. And then their father begins having some health issues. He's kind of has an alcohol problem. So his liver kind of starts failing a little bit. And this crisis kind of forces the two brothers to spend more time together, at the hospital and things like that. And it kind of forces them to go back into their history and the younger years of their childhood to see what went wrong, and maybe that they have bonds that they didn't even realize. And maybe it's just a communication error, So I like it because I was kind of that shy, artsy kind of kid, like growing up. And, I can understand Oscar a lot and the struggles he goes through. But it also made me interested in what Vance is going through as well. And I like that they show that vulnerability for brothers. I don't see a lot of YA books that explore that. So I just think it's a really sweet topic, and kind of inspiring. So that was mine.
Well, I think that sounds really nice. And I think it's good when books explore that, like, people communicate differently, or they feel things differently, or react to things, because it shows, especially for teen books, that, we don't all feel things the exact same way. And so it helps with understanding one another and empathy.
Yeah, exactly.
So
go siblings, my brothers and your siblings too. So thank you guys for listening to this week's edition of All Booked Up. We hope you enjoyed some of these books. Next week, we are going to be doing something fun for the holiday season. We're going to be doing sort of like a Secret Santa, I guess, with books. So, every week we've been recommending books to you. We thought, why don't Cailey and I recommend books to each other as a Christmas gift? And maybe you guys will benefit from our recommendations. So, Cailey, if I can guess you and pick out your favorite books or
Yes, we'll try to pick things that the other one maybe hasn't read or, something that they might appreciate to read over our holiday breaks.
yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Happy reading.
Bye-bye.